Celeb 20 news updates.
Celeb 20.
Ahead of the buzz.
All things celebrity.
So let's continue this story.
All right, so today we're gonna dive deep into the world of Ivanka Trump.
Oh yeah, she's a fascinating figure, isn't she?
I mean, I think we all have some idea of who she is, right? Maybe it's tied to her family or her time in the White House.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah.
But what if we try to look beyond that? You know? Like really understand Ivanka as her own person.
That's a great point. It's so easy to get caught up in the headlines and the family drama.
Absolutely. So that's what we're aiming for in this deep dive. We've got tons of articles, research all about her.
And are we talking like, her whole life or just like recent stuff?
Oh, her whole journey. Choices she's made, especially now with her father back in the Oval Office. It's a pretty wild story.
Yeah, you're right. It is wild when you think about it. I mean, she grew up under a microscope, right?
Yeah.
Not just as a Trump, but she was kind of carving out her own path too.
Oh, totally. Modeling Wharton Business School. It's not just a typical rich kid narrative.
Not at all. And then you throw in the family dynamics, 2 full siblings, 2 half siblings.
Right. Talk about a complex family structure. I mean, growing up like that with that much wealth and public scrutiny, it must have had a huge impact on how she sees the world.
Okay, but hold on. She wasn't just handed everything. She worked her way up in the Trump organization, right? Didn't she even have her own fashion line for a while?
She did.
Yeah.
That always surprises people. It suggests she wanted to create something for herself outside of her father's empire.
Separate identity?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, was it a genuine attempt to break free? Or just a smart business move? That's worth considering.
And then she shuts it down in 2018, right before her father's term ends. Makes you wonder what was behind that decision.
Oh, for sure. Was it to avoid conflicts of interest? Or had her priorities shifted? We also know she converted to Orthodox Judaism when she married Jared Kushner.
Oh, yeah. Their whole meeting is like straight out of a movie. They were supposed to be doing a business deal, and then bam, romance.
It is kind of funny. It's like, even in their high-stakes world, those personal connections can still sneak up on you.
Exactly. And converting to a religion for marriage, that's a huge decision.
Absolutely. It speaks volumes about her personal beliefs and the importance of family in her life. Makes you think about how her values might be different from her family's.
Okay, so let's talk about the White House years. Ivanka, as a senior advisor to her dad, that was definitely a controversial move.
Definitely. Not your average first daughter situation. And she wasn't just there for photo ops. She was in policy discussions, attending global events like the G20 summit.
It was unusual, to say the least.
Totally. You don't see a president's child with that much influence very often. It raises questions about the lines between family and politics getting blurred.
Yeah, there was a lot of debate about nepotism and whether she was even qualified.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
But love her or hate her, her influence during that time was undeniable.
And then after the 2020 election, she and Jared stepped back from politics.
Yep. And Jared dives into private equity, working with some interesting entities like Saudi Arabia and the founder of Foxconn.
Interesting how?
Well, it highlights that intersection of politics and finance, the whole revolving door concept.
Okay, break that down for me. What's the revolving door and why is it such a big deal?
So imagine you're in government. You have access to powerful people and sensitive information. Then you move to a private company that could benefit from those connections. It raises concerns about conflicts of interest and whether you're acting for the public good or for personal gain.
Okay, so with Jared working with these international players, does that raise any red flags?
Well, it certainly invites scrutiny. People are going to ask questions about the motivations behind those business dealings. And then there's Ivanka's choice, which is even more interesting.
Because her dad's back in the White House now. A lot of people thought she'd be right back in there with him.
Right, especially with their close relationship at her previous role. But she stated she's not returning to politics. She's focusing on her family and supporting her father from a distance.
And she's even said that politics has a certain darkness to it. Talked about the constant pressure of people always wanting something.
Yeah, it's like a glimpse into what it's really like in that inner circle. Even those born into wealth and power can crave a simpler life.
So it sounds like she's consciously choosing a path that prioritizes personal well-being and family over the demands of power and public life.
It seems that way. But can she truly separate herself from the Trump family legacy? Especially with all the controversy that comes with it. That's the big question.
Yeah, because even if she's not directly involved, her father's actions still dominate the headlines almost every day.
Exactly. It's like she's trying to have a quiet private life while this massive public family drama is unfolding around her.
So can someone with her background ever really step out of the shadow of their family legacy? Or will it always be part of their story?
That's what we're going to explore. We've seen Ivanka, the businesswoman, the wife and mother, and the political figure. Now we're seeing her navigate this new chapter. What does it look like? Well, that's what we'll unpack in part 2.
Okay, so last time we were talking about Ivanka stepping back from politics and focusing more on her family.
Right. Trying to kind of create a quieter life for herself.
But let's be real. She hasn't exactly disappeared, has she?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
There are whispers of a book she's working on. Something about female empowerment and leadership.
That could be interesting. Especially given all the criticism she faced for her White House role. Think she'll address that head on.
Who knows?
No.
But it's definitely a chance for her to tell her side of the story.
Reframe her public image.
Exactly. And she's been doing some philanthropy too, workforce development, education, that kind of thing.
So even though she's out of the political game, she's still trying to make an impact.
It seems that way. She's using her platform to champion causes she believes in. It's a way to exert influence even outside of government.
And of course, there's the whole family life thing. 3 kids keeping her busy, I imagine.
Oh yeah, she's a hands-on mom from what I've read. Always talking about the importance of family and stability.
Which is interesting considering the chaos she came from. Makes you wonder if that craving for normalcy was part of what drove her away from politics.
It's possible. It's possible. But even if she's trying to escape the spotlight, can she really outrun the Trump name? Her dad's in the news every day.
Right. It's like she wants a quiet life, but there's this massive public family drama happening all around her.
And that's the challenge, isn't it? The Trump name is so intertwined with politics and controversy. Can you ever really separate the two?
So is she content with this quieter life? Or will we see her pulled back into the political arena?
Tough to say. But she's definitely at a crossroads trying to figure out her next move. It's this fascinating mix of ambition, family ties, public perception.
Sounds like she's redefining what it means to be an Ivanka Trump.
Yeah, on her own terms. But there's one piece we haven't really talked about. Her relationship with her father.
That's true. It's been under the microscope for years.
Absolutely. And I think it's key to understanding her choices. So let's dive into that dynamic. What can we learn from these sources about how their relationship has influenced her?
Well, one thing that jumps out is her loyalty to him. She's always been his biggest defender.
Oh yeah, she's always praised him. His business savvy, his strength, his belief in her.
And she stood by him even when it hurt her own reputation.
Exactly. Through thick and thin. It shows a deep bond, a sense of duty that goes beyond politics.
But it's not a simple relationship, is it? They clearly have different personalities and even political views.
Yeah, that's an important point. Ivanka comes across as more moderate than her father. Different stances on social justice, climate change.
And there were times when she tried to soften his rhetoric or push for policies he didn't support.
Like she was trying to steer him in a different direction.
Yeah, but she never openly criticized him. She was always diplomatic.
It's like she knew how to disagree without damaging their relationship.
Which makes you wonder what their private conversations are like.
Who knows? But I bet it's more nuanced than we realize. Probably a mix of agreement, disagreement, understanding each other's motives.
Like any close relationship, it's complicated.
Especially when the whole world is watching and analyzing every word and gesture.
So as she tries to build this life outside of politics, how do you think her relationship with her dad will change?
It's hard to predict. But I have a feeling that bond will remain strong. They've been through so much together, they'll probably find a way to adjust to this new chapter.
It's like a reminder that even the most famous families are still families.
Dealing with the same stuff as everyone else, just on a bigger stage.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. Ivanka's childhood, her career, her time in politics, her decision to step back.
And that fascinating relationship with her father.
But it feels like we've only scratched the surface of that dynamic. There's so much more to unpack.
You're right. That relationship is at the heart of her story. So in the final part of our deep dive, we'll explore it in even more depth. Try to understand how it's shaped her choices and continues to influence her path.
So we're back and ready to really get into this father-daughter dynamic.
Yeah, it's a key part of Ivanka's story, isn't it?
Totally. I mean, this mix of loyalty, ambition, but also these hints of disagreement, it's fascinating.
It really is. Especially with her stepping back from politics.
Yeah.
Was it to protect that relationship? Or just to prioritize her own family?
Right. Like, was it about her dad or her kids?
Probably both, honestly. We know she wasn't a fan of the political world. Called it dark even.
So maybe stepping away was a way to protect herself while still supporting her father.
Yeah. Find that balance between being a good daughter and taking care of her own well-being.
Okay, so let's look back at their relationship. Has it always been this smooth? Or have there been rough patches?
There have definitely been times where they haven't seen eye to eye.
Like when?
Well, remember when Ivanka was pushing for paid family leave? That didn't exactly fit with her dad's agenda.
And she tried to soften his stance on things like immigration.
It was like she was trying to pull him in a different direction.
But she never did it publicly. Always behind the scenes.
Very strategic.
Yeah.
She knew how to disagree without creating a big public rift.
Makes you wonder what their private conversations were like.
Oh, I'd love to be a fly on the wall for those. But I bet they're more complex than we realize.
Probably a lot of unspoken understanding between them.
Years of shared experiences. They know each other's buttons.
So as Ivanka focuses on her own family, how will this relationship evolve?
That's the million-dollar question. But I think that bond is strong enough to survive anything.
They've definitely been through a lot together.
Ups and downs, scandals, triumphs. They'll figure out this new chapter.
It's like even with all the fame and power, they're still a family at the end of the day.
Dealing with the same stuff we all do, just on a grander scale.
Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground here.
We've gone from Ivanka's childhood to her career, her time in the White House, and now this new phase.
It's been quite a journey.
Trying to understand who she is beyond the headlines.
We've seen Ivanka, the businesswoman, the wife, the mother, the political player.
And now we're seeing her try to define herself on her own terms.
It's a reminder that even someone like Ivanka Trump is still figuring things out.
Trying to balance ambition, family, and personal values.
So as she moves forward, what will she prioritize? Will we see her back in the spotlight? Only time will tell.
It's a story that's still unfolding.
And we'll be here to watch it all play out. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time for another fascinating look into the lives of the world's most intriguing figures.